Hi, this is Hugh, and now I'm going to talk with you about smoking cessation. Probably the biggest number of people I've worked with has been for that process. When people, I would say most people probably, because hypnosis is still not completely understood on a worldwide basis, but most people who stop smoking do it with a variety of techniques or a variety of ways that only involve the conscious mind. So they might be reading about it somewhere, and there are some suggestions on how to stop smoking. They might have a electronic cigarette that they use as a crutch to help them stop. They might have any way that is going to help them, like maybe something like Chantex that has a warning list that would be scary to anybody reading it. And I've talked with people who have just had some pretty serious side effects from using Chantex. So there are all kinds of processes that might be used that only use the conscious mind. So people may almost like yo-yo dieting, and I can mention that in a minute, but they may stop smoking. But if they don't get to the roots of the problem in the subconscious mind and get them out, then there's always the chance that something could trigger some need, something from the past could trigger the need for a cigarette to help them deal with whatever they need to deal with. So that's where hypnosis is such an important part of long range helping people stop smoking permanently. So I want to give you a little example, and then we're going to have a side issue that was fascinating. Um, so in order to stop smoking permanently and use the subconscious mind to do that, a person has to be open to that. They have to be ready to trying that, and that's where this chapter 14 might be helpful. If you know someone who wants to stop smoking with the potential that it can really be a lifelong thing. Um, it's like yo-yo dieting that I mentioned. If people in traditional ways, without hypnosis, work hard at reaching their ideal weight and hoping to maintain it permanently, if they don't get to the roots of the problem, they're still active in the subconscious mind, and they might cause the need to eat and be overweight to come back. And it's called yo-yo dieting. I've talked to someone who lost 100 pounds just in traditional ways. Working out, kind of reinforcement with just talking about it and maybe getting a recording of some kind, but not a hypnotic recording. So lost 100 pounds, and then it all came back on. And you think of how demoralizing that can be for anyone, even losing 10 pounds that they wanted to lose, and then it creeps back in. So this is an example of an unusual situation, a way of stopping smoking that blew me away when I first was connected with it. So this fellow came to stop smoking. He'd had a 25-year smoking habit, and he wanted to stop. So we talked about it a little bit, and I went into hypnosis, and I just suggested that he go back to the first time there was something connected with his smoking habit taking hold. Minutes went by, no silence, nothing happening. And then finally he started talking in a guttural brogue. And I would realize that, ooh, something's unusual happening here. He went automatically to a past life, and I thought it was Irish. And when I asked him, he said, no, it was Scottish. So we went back to a past life in Scotland, 1888, and he and his family were subsisting all by themselves on this isolated farm. So there were two parents, two older brothers, and this young fellow. They had they had they grew wheat, they grew hay, they grew vegetables, they had horses, they had pigs, they had cows. I mean, they were a mini farm and self-sustaining. The only problem was that this fellow back in that time was very sickly from when he was born. And I don't know, it seemed that they were so isolated that there wasn't a doctor, even when in walking distance or shouting distance or riding distance. So they didn't know what was going on. But as time went on, he just became thinner and weaker and lost his appetite. And this was going on while everybody was doing their chores and making the farm work, except for him. And so he tended to stay inside all the time. They were in a stone house with a heavy thatched roof, little windows, so it was dark interior much of the time. And he just went downhill steadily. And when he was 11 years old, it reached the point where he just died. So that was the past life connection. And I was wondering, I said, I couldn't figure out what the connection might be other than it was something with that past life. And then I asked him for more about it, and he said, well, he said, like the light went on for him. He said, I started smoking in this life when I was 11 years old. So it's like he was continuing the karma, the energy that had come forward in a negative way that had been controlling him for his first 11 years, and then he died. Um, so that for him was the answer. So we worked at taking that past life experience, connected with the smoking habit, because the age was 11 in both ways, ending that one and starting smoking here. And he came back the next time, and at the end of that second session, everything was gone. Simply because of the past life connection with smoking. That I was astonished when he was going through that. So different ways to do it, but the old subconscious mind comes in once again as the lifesaver. And I know I can't promise that it works permanently every time, but certainly, everyone's different. But for the most part, I've had a real high percentage. I double checked with smokers for a 1 year period of time. I called them all back, and then the success rate after 1 year was 85%. Now, some people would say, well, why not 100? And I would say, there are so many factors in life, that might creep in after, even with the subconscious mind working, that will kind of throw things off a little bit. So it is possible that it's not always 100%, but it's a very high percentage. And you can read more about it in my book.